First of all, I want to welcome everybody to the Learning Lab for the Morgantown Area Partnership. My name is Russ Rogerson. I'm the president and CEO of the organization, and pleased today to have Netranom here with Scott Edwards, Paul Page, and Hannah Haynes joining us. And they're going to cover a subject that may not be important to you at the moment, but when it happens, it's very important. So encourage everybody to learn more about this, and as we become more virtual and more internet-based as communities and as companies, these kind of things are only going to increase. So we've asked the experts to come on board and give us a presentation on phishing and the do's and don'ts. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott. And Scott, please tell us all about what this means for us as companies.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Russ. I appreciate the introduction. So I'm Scott Edwards. I'm the president and CEO of Netranom. And I have with me today Paul Page. He's one of our solution engineers, and Hannah Haynes. She's our director of sales and marketing. So they're here presenting with us as well. So today, we want to talk about, I'm not talking about bass fishing. I'm talking about hacking. Phishing. But before I get started there, I want to tell you a little bit about Netranom. Netranom is a managed services IT company. We're based here in West Virginia. I started the company 21 years ago, and we have 3 locations. We're in Morgantown, Hurricane, and Parkersburg. So we cover all of West Virginia, as well as parts of all the surrounding states. Managed IT services, if you don't know what that is, we manage businesses, their IT networks. A lot of people look at us as their quote-unquote part-time IT people, or really they're full-time IT people. I get asked all the time, what size business do you cover? Our average size is 30 to 50 users, but if you have 10 people that work for you, or 200 people that work for you, we cover those and everyone in between. So that's who Netranom is. We manage your servers and routers and phone systems and backup, disaster recovery, all that stuff, all the IT needs. That's what we do. So let's get started and talk a little bit about phishing. Get to the next slide here. So what is phishing? So again, it's not bass fishing. I like to bass fish, but it's not bass fishing. When we talk about phishing, we talk about it's the first phase of the attack. And when I say the attack, it's the attack by hackers. And these hackers may be here in the United States. Most of them are overseas somewhere in other countries. And these are cyber criminals, and they're looking for sensitive information. They're trying to find your bank accounts, your passwords, your credit card information. They're trying to stage an attack. It's a planning phase, and they're looking for information. So Paul, do you have anything you want to add to that? If Paul's on here.
Yes, I do, Scott. So when we talk about the first phase of attack, this phase of attack is also known as the gain info phase. So what they're doing is they're wanting to gain info from you. The second phase of the attack is gain access. And then the third phase of the attack is gain control, take over. So the first phase of the attack is what we want to talk about today. This is the phishing part, where they're actually trying to gain information from you.
Perfect. So let's talk about some recent scams and how these criminals are doing it. In the last 5 or 6 weeks, criminals are really using the coronavirus. They're using things like stimulus check and subjects of emails to get you to open them. They're taking advantage of this worldwide pandemic to take you down. And people are already on edge anyway. Everybody's on edge. Everybody is, they're looking, hey, is my stimulus check going to come? Is my payroll protection money, is it going to come? Small businesses throughout the United States are in full scramble mode right now, trying to apply for and trying to get the PPP, the payroll protection program. A lot of them need that money to even survive. So the criminals You know, they're putting things in subjects of emails that look like it might be from the SBA. It might be from another government agency. You know, maybe as an example, maybe a large bank may, well, not the bank sending out the emails, but someone appearing to be a large bank may send out an email that says, hey, you need to open this up. I have information about the PPP program. We're able to get you moving on this now, right now, but you need to click here, log in, and let's go. Well, people that don't have whatever the XYZ bank, well, they just automatically go, okay, that's not me. I bank with another bank. But those people that bank with that big, huge bank, they may say, ooh, I'm a business owner. I've been waiting on PPP information. I'm clicking. When you click that link, multiple things can happen. Number one, things can get installed on your computer, and it can start looking for information and that type of thing. But a lot of times what happens is it says, to get to the next step, you click on it. It looks like you're clicking on that bank website that you've clicked on before, and they ask you to log in. They ask you for your password. That is the world's worst thing you can do, because they're collecting that information at that moment in time. They already know your email. So that's your username. You type in your password. They've collected that password. You hit enter. Who knows what happens at that point? Maybe nothing happens. They've already collected the information. That's all they need. So it's very, it's very, very scary at that point. It's people appearing to be someone else. An example that happened about 3 months ago before the pandemic, but it's a very good example that we can talk about. It's one of our a little larger customer here in West Virginia, and I think they have around 150 employees that work for them. This particular client always purchases vehicles from the same car dealer. They've been doing this for the last 15 or 20 years. So this time they emailed, they buy the same vehicle. It's always a Ford Explorer. They emailed the owner of the dealership, say, hey, we need another Ford Explorer, negotiate the price. It's always at invoice, that type of thing. It's very simple. The owners told us about this. Very simple. So they did that. The automobile dealer, they emailed over an invoice, said, hey, it'll be here in about 6 weeks. Well, about 3 weeks in, our client gets another email from the automobile dealer. It says, hey, we'd like to go ahead and collect half up front. Your vehicle will be here in about 2 weeks. It's coming in about a week earlier than we thought. We'd like to go ahead and have you ACH us over, half the money, which was a little bit odd. Normally, they wait till the vehicle arrives and then the client ACHs the money to them. This time, it's a couple weeks before, no big deal, full trust. They'd been dealing with them for 15 or 20 years. And the email actually came from the automobile dealer. And by the way, Netranom does not take care of the automobile dealer. So that I need to say that. So they're getting emails back and forth. So the owner of the company that's our client approved it, sent it to accounts payable, said, pay them for half the vehicle. The lady in accounts payable didn't feel right. She just said that was odd. So she picked up the phone and called the automobile dealer that she's always dealt with. They said, no, we didn't send you that email. So come to find out, the criminals were actually inside the computer at the automobile dealer. They were actually in the computer posing as the automobile dealer, as the owner, and the emails, because they were in the computer, they got to send it from his email account, and it looked exactly like the emails written by the automobile dealer. So it wasn't some cryptic email, some misspelled email like we see from other countries that we all know that's spam. This one was written exactly like the email or the automobile dealer had been writing emails for the last 15 years. So what I want to say here is that the criminals are going to, they're using everything they possibly can to get your money. We're teaching people all the time, hey, if it looks funny, all those type of things, don't do it. But even if you feel it's real, you still need to make that phone call, because maybe it's not real. And people ask me, well, what would have happened if they would have sent the money? Who's at fault? That would probably end up in court. I don't know who's at fault, because the automobile dealer He didn't do anything wrong other than he wasn't protecting his company very well. So maybe he's at fault. Maybe it's the other company's fault for sending it without checking. So we're entering a whole different world nowadays than we were even a couple years ago. You know, we talk about how to stay aware and combat phishing scams. Again, when we just talked about this, we need to make absolutely sure that you know who you received the email from and you confirm their identity. Sometimes you have to make a phone call. Yes, we're now back to talking to people. So not just an email back and forth, but you pick up the phone and call. If someone requests money, call them, hear their voice, make sure they did that. You also need to make sure your connection you're using is secure and encrypted. So we know business people do a lot of business involving money, you know, from their businesses every day. When we run into businesses all the time that aren't protected, you know, we'll have we actually about a month before the pandemic, just south of Morgantown, we had a client, or it's a client now. They contacted us and said, hey, we're interested in services. We've been hit. We've had bad things happen. Can you help us? So we sent, actually Paul and his team went on site, looked at everything. Well, nothing was secure and encrypted. Nothing was protected. They didn't have a proper firewall in place. They had something that was called a firewall from about 15 years ago. It wasn't working. They didn't have much antivirus, and they had been hit. You know, they had been scammed by multiple people, and actually caused ransomware. That's a whole different subject we can talk about one day. But it came through email. Again, it's people looking for things and wreaking havoc on you. So you have to make sure, as long as you're protected. I'm not gonna say everybody's fully protected, but if you have a really good firewall in place, you have really good antivirus, there's more to it, antivirus, anti-malware, all that stuff in place, spam filtering, to keep these emails from even getting to your Outlook. If you have all that in place and a few other things, you're pretty well not going to get this. But there's so many clients out there that just have nothing in place, absolutely nothing. Or very limited things in place, and that's not good. So we need to make sure, stay aware at all times, and have things in place to combat the phishing scams. All they want is your identity. They want something so they can log in as you. They can apply for car loans. They can be you. They can identity theft you. Paul, anything else to add there?
Not really, other than, what we want to kind of talk about is be cautious of the emails and the links in the emails. Like Scott said, these attackers are sophisticated. They will copy icons from the IRS or Chase or Best Buy or whoever it may be. What I want you guys to remember is anytime you see a link in an email, that's the most common avenue of attack for phishing, is a link in an email, where they're trying to get you to click on that. It redirects you to a website that is not actually Chase. It's some other CHISE.com. So just be really cautious anytime you get links in an email. That is the most prominent avenue attack right now.
That's a good point, Paul. You know, when you see the email and it's not CHACE, it's something else. It's one letter different, and that gets people all the time. So again, to phishing is these people. It's a first phase of the attack. They're trying to gain information from you, whether it's a username, a password, a date of birth, a mother's maiden name. They're trying to just gather bits and pieces, kind of put the puzzle together. You have to be aware at all times, but you need the proper pieces in place. You know, you've got to have really good spam filtering in place, firewall, antivirus, all those things. So whoever your IT company is, challenge them. Let them know, hey, I know a little bit about this now. Please make sure these are in place, because it really lessens your chances. You can still, by the way, you can have everything in place. You can still, be a victim of phishing. Things get through, things do get through email filters, because there's new attacks each and every day. But if you put lots of things in place to protect you, it lessens your chance. And I think that's very important to say. So with that, does anybody have any questions at this point?
Real quick, Scott, another thing to maybe talk about would be social engineering training.
Yes. Yes. So social engineering training is something that we do for our clients. And what Hannah means by that is we actually go into our clients and whether it's us or your IT folks and spend about, we usually do it in groups, maybe if groups are 10 or 15 at a time, spend about 30 minutes and we talk about things like phishing. We talk about things like different types of ways of getting hacked and give examples, but we talk to the end user because it's normally we'll go into a business that's been attacked. They end up becoming a client. They'll call us and say, hey, we're down, we've been attacked. And to talk to each and every end user, a lot of times maybe it's not the CEO that caused a problem, even though yes, it is the CEO. A lot of times sometimes causes a problem, but it can be the brand new employee that just started last week. So we want to talk to each and every person and provide social engineering. So it's not just the firewall and the backup device and the spam filtering and all the gadgets that IT people put in, but it's also social engineering. We talk to each and every computer user and tell them what to look for. Give them examples, let them ask questions. And the good thing is it protects the business, but it also, they can take this information home with them. They can protect themselves at their own homes because for some reason people let down their guard when they go home. It's easier just to click on a link at home. They've been told at work, don't click on links, but when they go home, maybe it's easier. They're like, it couldn't be anything bad. Well, it's real bad if they get your username or your password for your banking account and they start taking money or buying things on your behalf. So social engineering training is something that we do a lot and it's very important. So whoever your IT folks are, they should offer that to each and every computer user. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Russ. We've already received a couple of these emails, and in fact, what's happening is they're sent to staff and they're under my email address. Is this something that I did, or is this just them collecting this information?
Russ, nothing you did. Nothing you, most likely, I won't say that for sure because we don't know anything for sure nowadays, but most likely nothing you did. Your email is out there, and Russ, your email is a lot of places. You've emailed lots of people, so it's very easy to collect emails. So someone knows your email, and they'll send it to staff. Your staff names could be on your website. It could be in email lists. It could be anywhere, and it's rather easy for the hackers to gain that. So what they do, they will send an email that appears to be from you. Now, if it's actually from your exact email, they could be in your system. Most of the time, Paul, 99% of the time, it's an email that looks like it's you, but it's from, when you look at just the name, it's like looking at Amy's email, it says Amy Loomis, but it could still say Amy Loomis, but then her email might be amy.something at some weird domain name.com. But when people quickly glance at it, they just see the word Amy Loomis, and it says, hey, Jason, go buy me 4 gift cards. I'm in a hurry. Scratch off the name and send it back to me. Well, that's not really a phishing per se. They're not gathering information. That's just a scam. Are those the type, Russ, that you've seen where they've asked you to go, or you've asked people to go do something on your behalf?
What's interesting about the ones we just got actually this week, so this is very pertinent to us. And I looked at it. It's actually from an email that's earthlink.net, and it's asking staff, can you get a new task done? Is the question that they're asking. I guess they're phishing for their email addresses using my name, or
so sometimes if they're just asking get a task done, it can open a line of communication. So if they reply to it because they think it's real, now the criminal on the other end's like, okay, they think this is real. Now they can do something else. Now they can ask for some other information. So if the conversation has been started, it legitimizes everything. You know, if the person responds to it, they're like, ooh, they think this is real. So now they can email back and request something else.
So now
Yeah, he's biting on my lure.
right.
That bass is biting my lure.
Yep, just starting. You know, they didn't ask for anything up front. They didn't ask for pertinent information or credit card information or a bank account or anything, but they're starting a conversation.
Yeah, and
So,
and we you know, right now what we're doing is, you know, we have a Slack, a software called Slack that we actually have a channel that's called Phishing. So we put that out to staff and make them alert of it. Are there other things that we should be doing that protects us more than just you know, alerting folks to it?
well, alerting folks, you know, of course, you know, you're always have the IT company challenge. I always tell people, challenge your IT company. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that are it's an older model. It's a 15-year-old model, but it's the break fix model. They wait for something to break, you call them, then they fix it. Challenge your people to make sure they have the proactive model. So, and a lot of times people will call someone else and say, you know, I want to have it looked at. It's kind of like having a CPA audit, having someone else look at to make sure that your accounting firm is doing their job. You have someone else look at it, so you can do that. A lot of companies do that. It's very important that all the IT companies are ready for that to happen. It's going to get worse and worse. You know, we know that the hackers, you know, again, they've called this a hackers playground during this pandemic. It's the amount of hacking, it just goes up and up and up. So you have to stay on top of it. Keep people aware, social engineering all the time. Make sure your employees are aware all the time. The owners and CEOs and management of companies should really push this on their people. And it's not just, this is not a senior management thing. This is from the highest level to the lowest level and everybody in between. Anybody that touches a computer needs to have proper training. They just need to know, don't click on that link. You know, the only thing you could do, Russ, you could hire a person to stand behind each of your employees and smack their hand when they go to click the link. So again, no matter what, you know, no matter what's put in place from firewalls and everything else, those links can still slip through an email, no matter how good your spam filtering is, because there's new attacks every day. So people have to know, don't click on the link. That will get you every time. That will bite you every time.
So basically, you got a lot of smart people with computers with a lot of time on their hands. So what else do they have to do, right?
Click a link, right? But please don't do it. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, it was just, this Amy speaking. It was just an observation that that you see. It seems like you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Correct.
In terms of these kind of attacks.
Yes, you're exactly right. So we had a company that we ended up dealing with in Charleston, and they probably had 100 employees. And I hate to call this person their weakest link, but it did happen. She clicked a link about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it shut the whole company down. It just did. Shut the whole thing down. So at that one moment in time, of all those employees, you know, after we did did social engineering training and all that, that person, and we knew who it was. You know, they admitted to it. We knew anyway. We were able to track it back, and you know, that person became their weakest link at that one moment in time, and that's horrible. It happens. So, and again, this is another webinar in the future, but it's, what if it does happen? Because you can't protect you can't, as a business owner or president and CEO, you can't be 100% sure that your weakest link is not going to click on that link. You can't be sure. So then you have to have things in place that if that does happen, and it will happen to some people, you have to be able to. So keep that in mind as well as everybody moves forward with IT and these hackers. Any other questions? Russ, thank you for having us today.
Absolutely. Thank you. This is good information, and it's real, and it's happening as we speak. So appreciate you giving us a little education on that. And I think the bottom line is, if you're having issues with this, we need to call somebody like Netranom to take a look at it, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. Give us a call. We're right in Morgantown, and we're at 304-241-7999. And we're here to help anybody that needs it.
Thank you, Russ.